Buenas tardes.
Sí.
Now, the session of the afternoon is very difficult hour for all the attendees and, of course, for our dental speakers. We are very proud to have here more than 60 years of experience in the area of entrepreneurship. They are adding together all this experience. We have this afternoon the intervention of Fabio Carati from Telecom Italia. He's a business and fundraising advisor and coach for European and for United States startups, and has more than 20 years of experience in Scalable and open innovation advisory. And in the center of the panel, we have Wolfgang Kniejski, other experiences business developer and very important expert in innovation management, working for the EIT lab that is located in 18 countries in Europe and in the United States, and with Eckhard Koch, an experienced consultant and entrepreneur, and with a long trajectory as researcher in the side of the academy. And they are here with us in order to share with us this experience and their point of view, their perspective for how we can face the different barriers we have for the young entrepreneurs, the more maturity projects in entrepreneurship. And so we have a first intervention from each one of 10 minutes in order to introduce themselves and to introduce their activity and this first sight of how is the situation of the scale-up of the startups. So we start with Fabio.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fabio.
Good afternoon to everybody. I would like to start my talk about what does it mean innovation. Normally, my experience when I see scale-up startup or a research institute that speak about innovation, they think to technology, they think in the best case to have success in terms of business. But I think that in reality, innovation means to have an impact at the end on the society. Of course, if you have an impact, you can have also things. Normally also a good business return, but I think that the most important thing is the impact that you have on the society. So the change of behavior, the change of, the way to communicate, for example, the change of work. There are a lot of, impact that the innovation do. And from this point of view, we should start to think when we speak about a new idea, a new startup, a new scale-up, always to start from the market, because the market means impact, means innovation. What I see that is normally is that there are a lot of stunning technologies, but a lot of time this technology is difficult to place this technology on the market, no? Because in reality, the idea is not to start from the market and to build the solution, but start from the technology. And this doesn't fit well with this idea of impact, no? And it means that we don't do innovation. In paradox, we can do a super technology that is not innovative because nobody buy it and nobody use it. So I would like, starting from this idea, I would like to tell, I think that here there are a lot of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs that would like to understand how they can have impact on the society, no? I would like to speak about my experience that has been several years in Silicon Valley and in which I lived here for 1 year of my life in San Francisco, working with European scale-up and startup to help them to come in the Silicon Valley in the US market. So here, the idea that also here in Europe is coming is that the business is not working more as in the old way as a supply chain, where Someone do a work for another one that buy the product, and another one give value to the product till the final customer. Now we are just in a phase where we are working like business ecosystem. What does that mean? Mean that in a place like this one here in León, there are a lot of companies engaged, there are a lot of stakeholders engaged in some ideas, and when you build a product, this product is, I'd say, the sum or as a contribution of all the actors of the ecosystem. This is very important because in this way we can also prepare a good product, taking care of all the actors of the ecosystem. For example, in Silicon Valley, the ecosystem, the business ecosystem is very, very advanced in terms of maturity, not in terms of quality or, I'd say, maturity, because they started a lot of years ago to work in that way as an ecosystem. It means that there is a cultural, a mindset, a common mindset shared between a lot of stakeholders, and when you want to do something, it's more simple, because everybody speaks the same language, investor, university, startup, everybody know how to work and what is good to do and what is not good to do. It's a sort of coding of behavior, and this is fantastic. To the other side of the ocean here in Europe, we work in a different way. I'd say, if you can give a metaphor, in US, I mean, not in US, in Silicon Valley, we can speak about the place of dreams, no? Where everything is possible. I'd say here in Europe, to do business, we need to have we call it the pizza approach. Pizza approach means I do the product, I test the product. After, there is not a VC that gave me the product, the money also before when I have the idea, but I have to prove on the field that it works. I have the first revenues, and with this first revenue, I finance my idea and blah, 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 and after I can find someone that gives me money. So it's a completely different approach. In Europe, the market is very difficult, very competitive, I'd say hyper-competitive, because everything is, again, structured in terms of value chain. So we have a big corporate that buy technology, buy system integrator that are supplier of this big company, and for a startup, it's very complex to deal directly with the corporate. In the US, in Silicon Valley, it's more simple because the corporate are people that speak the same language of the startup. Startup speak the same, have an idea how to speak the language of this corporate, very advanced in terms of mindset, especially the people that live in Silicon Valley. So this is more simple to do a matchmaking. Here in Europe is more complex, and what is going on, and there are new agencies called innovation agency that are dealing directly with the corporate and help the corporate to innovate. Until now, was the supplier of company that try to bring innovation to corporate, no? With new idea, and after the idea, they produce the product. Now it's changing. The corporate are trying to deal with the innovation agency, and the innovation agency deal normally with scale-up and startup. It's possible also that the scale-up and startup deal directly with the corporates, but in my experience, what I see that there is a gap, a cultural gap very strong, so normally it's possible to do matchmaking, but it's quite difficult that a scale-up or a startup is able to bring to the corporate the technology, for example, or the services, and the corporate is able to sell these services in the market. It's possible, sometimes it happens, but it's not something that is like the supply chain today, where a supplier brings innovation, the company says, oh, this innovation is good, can you sell me, and I resell to my final customer. This works. And this is because there is the reliability of the system integrator is higher than that of a startup. The startup don't know how to deal with corporate in terms of process, in terms of time, and a system integrator normally is able to do that. So I'd say now also here in Europe are doing this shift, working more as an ecosystem, but we will do, in my opinion, as a pizza approach. It means that there will be innovation agents that will fill the gap between the scale-up, startup, and the corporate. It's difficult to have a model like that in Silicon Valley where there is a startup that is buy directly from a corporate because it's a good technology and do a great exit in a few years. It's quite impossible, I think. This is my feeling. So this is just to give a brief...
First approximation. Thank you very much. Eckhard, I think you have prepared a short presentation for support your intervention. If you are so kind. Thank you. Yes?
The sound there?
Yeah. Just a minute.
Can you hear me already?
Yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like that.
Yes.
It's there.
Yes, it's okay. It's okay.
Good. I just need
The
the
slide.
projection there. I can see it twice, but you not now.
There is a
Can you
problem?
put this presentation from here?
Just a minute.
I don't know, if you tell me to press some buttons, I can do everything. The micro? Okay. It's a little bit magic, but at least the sound is running now.
Now it's better.
Just a second, sorry.
Yeah, we can show. Tenemos la presentación de el profesor Eckhard, ¿sí?
Wait, if it doesn't work, you might stop.
Shall we change the
There is
order?
some problem.
Perhaps they fix the...
If you don't mind,
Yeah, Wolfgang
we pass
starts.
the
I think
turn
it's-
Yeah?
to Wolfgang, and
then I
we
can-
try to solve the problem with the switch,
Except
the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, Eckhard. Wolfgang, please.
So then I will jump in. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here and to have this interaction with you now about this topic. Just to give you a short introduction what we are doing as EIT Digital and why we are doing it. We heard this morning, and you know, it's talked all over the places, that the global cyber threat landscape is large. It's complex, it's varied, and continually enhanced solutions are required because also the aggressors are always changing their tactics. So this means cybersecurity is a very attractive field for investments, and cybersecurity is a big, big market. If you look at the investments between 2012 and 2016, VC participation amounted to more than $12.5 billion across more than 1,200 companies. But the question is, now you are a Spanish entrepreneur. You have a very nice product. You have a local support ecosystem like you find it here. They help you to develop your company. They help you to get into technology readiness level 9, have a product available, know what kind of service to offer. You have the first customer in Spain, but then you realize, oh, I cannot think in Spanish market terms. When I really want to scale up, when I really want to expand, I have to think global. I have to enter global markets. And then your problems start. Then suddenly the local ecosystem is not supportive anymore. It's not their mission. It's not their task. Yeah? And suddenly you want to bring your product to a Deutsche Bank because you already talked successfully to BBVA. You want to bring your product to Siemens because you were already successfully talking to Atos. and you want to go into Deutsche Telekom because you had a very nice deal with Telefonica. Are you ready for this? And I'm sorry to say this at this point and at this time. In 2017, Europe is not ready for this. We have the local support system, but nobody is able to take it global, to take it international. And there's some many, many problems, challenges that you face. It starts with the language. If you want to sell in Germany, many customers require a German basis, require German resources. If you want to sell in Germany, you have to adapt your marketing strategy and communication strategy. What kind of message do you send out? With whom? In what language? You have to understand the culture, and so on and so on and so on. If you look at another country where you want to bring your already successfully exploited project, you look at the peak of the iceberg. But you have to look under the water to see where the real barriers are. And this is where EIT Digital comes in. EIT Digital is an organization of EIT. EIT stands for European Institute of Innovation and Technology. And EIT has the mission to make innovation happen all over Europe in different technology fields. There's an organization of EIT that takes care of health technologies, EIT Health. There's an organization that takes care of energy technologies, EIT InnoEnergy. And there is EIT Digital, which supports the digital transformation building on digital technologies. Cybersecurity is part of this focus. EIT Digital is basing the activities on the integration of education, innovation, and business. In education, we run our own schools to teach also entrepreneurship, integrative, which engineering disciplines. In innovation, we fund our own projects within Horizon 2020, but not research. We don't want to hear research anymore. We want to take your products to the market. So we close the last mile from the last prototype to the product and service which is accepted internationally. And in the business line, we run our accelerator. And this accelerator is facing these challenges that I just mentioned. We tear down the barriers that you face when you want to enter international markets. We are allocated over 9 different countries in Europe, plus Silicon Valley. We have locations in Finland, in Sweden, in Germany, in France, in Madrid here, in Spain, in Hungary, and so on and so on. And we have a team of business developers that offer 3 main services to the companies that want to go international. One thing is access to resources. You can have free space in our co-location centers so that you have a German entity already, not the legal entity, but an address, a point from where you work, where you can put your first resources. We have access to finance. Most companies that want to scale internationally need the financial support, need to collect another round of funding. This is what we accomplish. Not 500,000 euro. We talk about ticket sizes of 1.5 to 10. We have now a scale up. We negotiate a 15 million deal. And we have 40 people in the access to market team that really help you to get access to the customers. And this is very important to know that this infrastructure is available, because I absolutely agree what Fabio just stated. You cannot do it on your own. If you want to go to Siemens because you are already successfully working with Atos, to whom do you go? To the director of the security unit? Or to the Siemens technology to business area? To the CISO of Siemens? Or to the technology venture group of Siemens? Who is your contact point and how do you reach him? Questions that you cannot answer. You have to be there in the market. So what we do access to market through individual contacts. Everybody of our team members has this experience. This is selection criteria. We have to have gray hairs or no hairs. Yeah? Then we have a network, and this network is what we use. And then we have organized events. We do matchmaking. I contact a lot of corporates all over Europe, I travel from Bulgaria to Estonia to Germany to France and so on. And I find corporates that say, yes, I want to see your portfolio. I introduced our portfolio to them. They do a shortlist, and then I fly the shortlisted company to the spot of the customer. And then they run into business generation. And then the long way starts. Proof of technology, proof of concept, maybe unpaid, contract negotiation. You need a vendor number. IBM takes more than 6 months to issue a vendor number to a new startup. So you already have a deal, but you don't have cash flow. And so on and so on. There are many, many challenges, as I said. This is what we bridge as EIT Digital Accelerator. So we have a very clear focus to introduce you to the customers, and we are thinking in verticals. We are thinking in segments. If a company tells me what I always get told, yes, my technology is very good and it benefits banks and insurances and logistic companies and telcos, and by the way, it's also good for health and public administration, I say forget it. You will never go in all the segments. Let's focus. So we do this introduction not only country-wise, but also segment-wise. We focus on the target channels. You want to talk to telcos? Okay, I know whom to introduce you in telecom. You want to go to banks? Okay, let's look Banco Sander, let's look Unicredit, let's look Deutsche Bank, let's look Commerzbank, and so on and so on. And then we do it even technology-wise. Cybersecurity is not cybersecurity. We cluster cybersecurity in 9 different segments. One segment is quantum encryption, the future of our secure digital communication. One segment is predictive intelligence. One segment is deception security. One segment is critical infrastructure security, autonomous systems, automobile security, IoT security, mobile security, cyber insurance, and so on. We have to know in which segments you are, to which vertical you want to go, and what is the focus in which we shape the country targets. What are the resources that you are able to provide? This is the real support that you need, really hands-on, and then we go into the deal. And over time, in the meantime, we have more than 260 companies in our portfolio. Last year, we supported 14 million euro investments for the scale-ups, and our average deal amount per company ranges from 300,000 euro per year to 3 million euro per year. So these are numbers that speak. Yeah? And this is support which is offered, but always in the collaboration with a local ecosystem, and this is why I'm very grateful that we find this excellent local ecosystem here with INCIBE.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Eckhard, now is ready the presentation.
Hope we get it done now. It was running in between. Oh, great.
Now, yes.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak here. And meanwhile, the audience is growing, so they're getting more and more people. That's great. I want to come a little bit more to the topic of the cybersecurity and what kind of recommendations or rules I can provide, especially from my experience. And from that reason, let me see how to click that here. I would like to have a short introduction of myself. At the moment, I'm professor, but I'm professor only since 7 years. So the most of my time, I was not professor. So still, I use some slides here to present. I'm about 25 years in IT security. Today, we call it cybersecurity, but focusing the security on the IT world. I made 3 scale-ups, to use this term, with 3 companies. One was my own companies, and the other ones where I was in a managing position. So the own company I did grow up from, I had own patents in digital watermarking, it's a security technology. The company was grown from 1 person, that was myself, up to 25, 30 people. And then the other company was a security consulting company. I was head of the consulting area, and it's the largest security consulting company in Germany. They have meanwhile 350 people, and during the time I was there, we scaled up from 10 to 60 or 70 people. And the other company was a security product company. They introduced the online banking in Germany and also in Europe, and they really made a very successful IPO. And the time I was there, they've scaled up from, I think, 70, 80 to 250 people with all the problems they have in. So, and I would like to give you some insight what I have learned or what I can draw from conclusions out of that. During the time of my company, I made all these financing rounds. I had first some business angels too, and then we got the investment from Deutsche Post Ventures, and later on I sold the company to a French company called Thomson. So I made all these processes which people like to do. Good. I want to a little bit talk about the security market to come to that, or the cybersecurity market. And it's really a difficult market to approach. So if you go in that direction, you have a good hot topic, but it's hard to approach. And one reason is the security provides no real value to the business of the company you want to sell. Because they want to sell cars, they want to sell banking services, they want to sell everything, but the security is just something they don't need. They need it because of any pressure or regulations, but they don't want to sell the security. So you're on a field where it's hard to sell the product because nobody really buys security for itself. And in the security area, you don't have any fun factor like Pokemon. You can have a great business model with Pokemon and nobody needs it, but everybody plays it and buys it. So it will not happen in security. And you also don't have an image factor like people buying an Apple smartphone for €1,000 and another one you can get for 250, but they still go for the Apple because it's a brand. Nobody says, oh, I bought the newest security encryption technology. I'm great. Nobody would say that. So it's very hard to sell the security. And the customer only buys security if they really have a pain. If they had a threat or there is an attack and they have been taken over, or they really need pressure. There is very rarely companies buying security because it's fun or because they don't have pain. And the pressure normally comes from new laws like privacy laws or digital infrastructure security laws. We have in Germany that the companies have to provide information to the government, but also because of compliance and risks. And on the other side, it's hard to sell, but you have high customer expectations. They want the solution 100% secure, and everybody working in this area knows 100% security is not working. So they expect more than other products. When you run a Windows computer, you know it crashes once a day or once a week. You don't want that from the security. If you want sell security, the customer wants 100% reliability. Makes it difficult, really reliable. And on the other side, it should be non-disturbing, it should be transparent, and people working in that area know that it's hard to do. But there's always one but. The IT security markets is growing faster than other IT markets. I looked for the numbers on the German market, and the German market in 2013 was around 15 billion euro. That means all the products sold and all the services sold in IT security area. And they had around 70,000 people working in IT security in Germany. And the growth rate in the last 10 years and even until today is always higher than the growth rate in traditional IT matters or the IT and communication matters. So if you are on that track and you're doing well, you overperform the IT developments. And having in mind things like IoT or big data or Industry 4.0, you will see there is an even higher demand on security. So security market difficult, but there is also a chance to be successful. I would like to have the other perspective of the entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs and all the managers in a small company, they have to manage a lot. It's more than other companies. So they have to manage something new. They have a new product, they have new markets. They have a variety of tasks. They have to be flexible during this growth. And I want to go a little bit on that, not too deep. Going on this newness. So you have a new product, and in worst case, it's in a new market, and then it's really hard to sell. It's not like an established company having an existing product, selling it in an existing market and doing revenues over many years. It's not here. Normally in security, in cybersecurity, you have new products in new markets. Think on IoT, think on Industry 4.0. It's a new market, and you start with some special, I don't know, special monitoring system or whatever. And you have a lot of technical challenge through all this hacking and all these things. And your task is, in this new innovative market, to define your USPs. Where are you different? There are so many security companies on the market. Just look in Spain, there are so many cybersecurity companies. And go to France, go to Germany. Everywhere you find 2-3 dozens of cybersecurity companies. So you make clear what is your difference, where you differentiate from the competition. So what else? Okay, and then there is, for you as a founder or manager of a company who wants to scale up, you have a lot of uncertainty. You never know, will you be successful or will you fail? So it's not like working in a big company like Siemens, you know you will get your salary until the end of your life. It's not with a startup, not with a scale-up company. You are really somewhere in between. You never know whether you get all the return on investment you made, personally or your family or your friends or whoever spent time and money and resources into you. You never know that. And you will have problems after a while with the work-life balance, because you spend more and more and more, but the life is going also on in parallel. And then there is one of the biggest challenges you have to take. It's when you grow, you have to adapt the organizational structure. You have to adapt the processes. If you think on a big company like Siemens, Telecom, they restructure, let's say, every 2 years. Sometimes a little bit earlier, sometimes later, but let's say 2 years, big companies. If you are a small company starting with 1 or 2 people, then you reach a step of 5 till 10 people. Then you need to restructure, the process getting different. You can't do everything. You can't be responsible for everything. And when you reach the next stage to going to 15, 20, 30, 50 people, then you have to restructure. So my experience in the companies I work, they restructured sometimes 2-3 times a year. So new head for operation, new head of this, and they defined new jobs because it was not there before. Certain tasks, quality, and all this need new people, need new structures, need new processes. And this is an ongoing process, and it needs really flexibility from your side. And it's not only the internal things which change, it's also the business model might change. If you are in a new market with new products, it can happen that after half a year you completely have to throw away your old business model and start with a new one. So altogether it runs in high complexity, but I hope it's possible to manage. So I will put one more slide. So the main conditions or requirements or conditions for scaling up, for me, are several issues. There is one, the vision, there are the people, there is the business model itself, there is the markets, there is the products and service, and the speed and money. For each of that, I will give a short note or some information on the following 3 slides, and then we went through. Zips, yes. Okay. Coming to the first point. Still don't have this. Okay. The business model, it's one of the core elements. it's very important when you design your business model, how to make business model. You are not alone on the planet. There's not only you and the customer. There are many other actors around that, and you have to work together with them. There might be suppliers, there might be logistic partners, there might be advertising companies. There are a lot of other actors, and you have to consider all in your business model, and you have to generate value for all of these actors, because if you forget one of them, your business model is not complete, and he will not play with you. So have the whole picture, look who are the actors, and then define the business model and try to generate value for all of them. Value can be money, but value can be a lot of other things. And then you have to look for a scalable business, oh, sorry, I have to, this thing is not nice. Oh, no, sorry. The problem here is, I see, okay, don't mind that lower one. You have to have a scalable business model. This can be, like Wolfgang said, you can go internationally. So if the market in Spain is satisfied and you've sold to all important relevant companies, then you are finished. But you can also have a product and you fit into other application areas. You fit to other customer segments. So think in advance where to expand your business model. You can't do everything from the beginning. Start with one small part, but prepare the business model in a way that it's scalable. Then another point is the people. And for me, it's one of the very important points. And what I write, it might seem a little bit hard, but I made really hard experience on that. Carefully select the people. Look at companies like Google and Amazon and all these American companies. Look at their people selection process. It's very hard. It's really, they're really going deep. They're making 4 or 5 interviews. They're making hard tests. So they really want the best people. And not only the technology best, they want also people with a good overview and so on. So the stuff is your resource of future innovation. So put real emphasis on that. Don't make compromise. You are not a big company. If you are a big company and you have 10,000 people, you can afford that 100 people not working really hard or don't even work at all. Sometimes you don't realize it. If you're a big company, don't care, perhaps after 10 years. But if you are a small company and you have 10 people and there is one person not working really, it's not fully committed, then you have 10% loss. You are only on 90%. So really no compromise. You need a strong commitment and you can't afford average or less. Okay, is it that? Okay. So to the markets, if you are a young company or a startup or a scale-up company, you look for huge markets because the investor asks for huge markets. If they want to invest, they say, how big is the market size and so on. So you will make figures how big it is. But in the operational way, I would not recommend go to the hugest markets because in the huge markets, the huge companies are. And if you sell a product and a big company like Cisco sells a product, and you go to the customer which one he wants, then he goes to the Cisco because this is a reliable company and he doesn't know what is with the small company. So the huge markets are a risk. I recommend always focus on market niches, focus on small market segments. And if the people are not so sensitive in the small niches, are not so sensitive, the customers, and all in the segments. So if you are successful there, then you can expand and go to the other ones. But don't go the broad way from it. You can get it again. My tie is probably not suited for that. Okay, yes, sorry for that. Okay, we got it again. Okay. So, and you go to the next, to the other markets or the bigger markets. You go in the second phase when you are successful somewhere. Don't be too big. Think big, but act small in your area where you can be successful. So, product. It's very important to carefully design your pricing model. It has to be a recurring revenue model. You don't want to have 1-2 years high revenues and then nothing comes again. No investor wants that. Nobody wants that. So, and all the pricing models go more for a long-term relationship. Hardware goes down in prices, software goes down in prices. You want to set the service additionally. So, for my company, we really, in the first 3-4 years, we changed the business model, we changed the pricing model several times because we also had to learn what is acceptable for the customer. But if you have other examples, you can look how they are doing it. But don't be fixed, look at the market, adapt the pricing model, redesign it. Try to build long-term relationship to your customers. A new customer is much more expensive than carrying an existing one and reselling a product, getting a recurring revenue. And don't forget to define your USPs. So, second last, speed and money. For me as a German, we are always considering, oh yes, think again about it and make very solid decisions. But it's not the right way. Look at the American way of life. They are really going fast. Don't postpone decisions. If there is something and you realize there is something to decide, do it. And don't wait weeks. And it can be the wrong decision, but if you are not fast with your decisions, the market and the competition will punish you. They are faster. Get reference customer quite early, and regarding the money, you need money for the growth phase, but be aware raising money is very resource consuming. I realized that when we had our financing route and also when we sold our company, it distracted me each time half a year from doing sales. I was only doing due diligence preparation, I was doing negotiations, reading contracts, and so on. So consider this. It distracts you from work. If you get support in raising money, use that support. You always find a model how to leverage the costs for that. So it takes a resource and it's very time consuming. Don't expect to get money in 3-4 weeks like some in the US might get. We don't get it here in Germany or in Europe. So last point is the vision. Of course, everybody needs a vision, but I think it's really important to have the vision because from the vision, you break down the individual objectives. So each employee, each staff member knows from the vision what he has to do, what is his targets for the day. Because I had an experience that my people came to me and asked me, this customer asked for that and this asked for that, what should I do? So I was really bothered by all these questions. But you need to enable your people, your staff, to do this decision by their own. And this is only possible if you give them a vision and if you give them the targets they have to achieve. And if you want to reach something really great, you have to go to, according to, I didn't find the Spanish one, a French artist, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, and just read the sentence he wrote. Oh, he said, probably. So what he wants to say is, if you want to build something big, if you want to scale up, if you just want to be a small company, if you really want to grow, then don't just give the people tasks to do, collect the wood, do some programming, do that. Give them a vision. And I was working with one of the company which was really successful, the firm with the online banking. The CEO of this company, he was really able to give the vision, and he really motivated all the people to go in that direction. And you have to show them more than just the simple work they have to do day by day. Okay, and for you as a Spanish marine company, you should follow. For you, this idea should be something worse. Okay, I'm the end with that comments. Thank you very much.
Well, this is an open panel. Everybody can ask any question at any moment. So if you want to prepare some question, you have a minute to think on it. But yeah, please.
Mark Miller from Conceptivity. We're actually a Swiss SME. I can't really claim that we're a startup anymore, as we've been in the security realm for more than 7 years now. But at the same time, I think that these presentations have been very interesting, because ultimately the opportunities are there for businesses and cybersecurity SMEs and startups in Europe. The challenge is always getting to the markets, the challenge of the different languages, the challenge of the financing, all of the aspects that have been discussed here. I will actually make a small comment on one project that we're working on, which is called Cyber Watching, in which we actually focus on European SMEs, European cybersecurity SMEs, with the idea being to create a trusted marketplace, with the idea being to create a place where there would be an SME club. And during the panel tomorrow morning at 10:30, or 10:40 actually, here in this room, we'll speak about that. My question is this: if there was to be one thing that the panelists would believe would help to better address the competitiveness of cybersecurity SMEs in Europe, what would that one thing be? And who should be the initiator of this? Should it be the European Commission? Should it be the national member states? How could that one thing happen? And again, I'm trying to narrow it down to one thing, because we've come across a lot of different aspects in the discussion today. But it would be interesting to hear from each of the panelists, what is that one thing which could make a big difference? Thank you.
Very nice question. Fabio.
Yeah. But in my opinion, looking where the technology is going on is the softwareization. No? We started some years ago in the cloud computing. Now we are going also in the softwareization of the network with the software-defined network. No? And this, I think, is something of crucial, because one of the problems of the software-defined network, so it means in two words, transform the typical communication network also in software. It means that on the same fiber optic, I can create different networks only with a click of a button, just to give the idea. And it means that with this smart network, because on the software-defined network, I will bring a lot of application on top. They will become not only a tube, but an intelligent tube, and it will be changed a lot of the business side. No? And in my opinion, in terms of security, one of the points that the software-defined network is not so strong is the security of the network. Because when you speak about something of physical, it's quite simple to be safe, security, no? To have the security. Now, when we speak about in the same physical place, put different network, with different people, with different companies, with different stakeholders that have the same place, the security can be a problem. So I'd say a challenge for the Europe is to have their own platform of security about this kind of network. If we should be able to manage the certificate, the policy with, an organization in Europe for all the European citizens and companies, it could be great. I think that this is the next step. Try to think that the 5G work with the software-defined network. So the software-defined network is the network of the future. It's just working, but in the future will be the network. So, and if you have the security of the network, we have the security of the company, of citizen. We solve the privacy problem of people. So it's a big point.
Okay, very tricky question. So I can talk about standardization needs. I can take interoperability needs, certification. But I would like to take a different approach. You know, from this European cosmopolitan point of view, if I would help you to get into European markets, the first and only thing that I need is understand what you really want. Yeah? And if I understand what your real desire is, then I can help you. And I can make networks, ecosystems helping you. I think this is key information.
Okay. If you really want to nail it down to one point or to one issue, then you don't get an answer which helps on a short term. But if you, what I think is what we have to do, and this is a mid or long-term thing, is really we have to integrate the security or cybersecurity education into school, into universities. So when I look at my son, he's 12-year-old and he's playing with all this stuff. He doesn't care at all. He doesn't care what is with his data, nothing. And if we really want to change something and we want to have the awareness, then we have to start at this point, not only in school, but university. In our university, I introduced one specialization for security. And in principle, I think each student today, independent if he's doing a religion or economics or whatever, he has to understand what it means cybersecurity and what the risks are which concern him. And if all have this awareness, I think we can get a step forward, not on the short, but on the mid-long term.
Una cuestión más. Just after this panel, we have the session of pitches of Cybersecurity Ventures, the finalist startups that have been participating in the Spanish contest for startups. And there are 15 teams. I expect very nervous, but be ready for a hard panel. But what would you recommend for these young people in order to reinforce their soft skills? Because at the level of the hard skills, they are very ready, very well prepared with their training, with their academic background. But the soft skills that are really successful entrepreneurs need to have this success we expect in the scale-up phase. Please, Fabio.
So, my opinion is that the most important thing is to have a strategic view. It means, for example, if you have a product, try to understand how to compete in a blue ocean. So, not in a red ocean. What is the difference? In the blue ocean, I have a product, I have no competitor. In the red ocean, I have a lot of competitors. So the first thing to think in a strategic way is say, okay, how I can position my product? I should try to position in a blue ocean, changing, for example, the feature of the product, the business model of the product, the price of the product, and go in that direction without competing with companies that are big, established, so they have a big looks to the customer, so it doesn't work. So the first thing should be to do a competitive analysis and understand how I can sell that product and find the market and the way to create the market. Because I can sell always, for example, to a telecom company, but in two different ways. If I sell in the way A, in the way one, I have a lot of competitors, like Cisco, for example, or big companies that sell and are very, very efficient, very good, and blah, blah, blah. But if I change my perspective with a new business model, for example, or in a niche, in a market niche, and in that market niche I am the number one, I should focus in that point, not to compete with others. In this second case, I am working in a blue ocean strategy, so without competitor. So this, I think, is the most important thing to do, because if you do a right choice in terms of strategy, after everything is a downhill. It's not an uphill. This is my suggestion.
Thank you. Wolfgang.
Yeah, I would recommend entrepreneurs that want to go global that they have something like an intracultural and intercultural openness. You have to be aware of the value of the different cultures and that you act in different cultures and ecosystems, and you have to be aware that if you step into collaboration with partners, you don't lose anything by giving up some percentages to a partner. You win. I think you should achieve through the intercultural openness that 1 and 1 equals 3 at the end. So what it means in real words is if you target a bank and you want to go into the German market and sell to Deutsche Bank, to Commerzbank, and to whomever, not necessarily the guy at the bank is the decision maker. Maybe you want to work you through an OEM. Maybe you want you to work through a distributor, a trusted company, or an integrator. And maybe you have to give up 30% of the revenues to this integrator, but this creates the value, this creates the leverage. So have an open ear to understand the different cultures, to understand how the different market works, and then you will be able to get into those markets.
In general, one has two kinds of approaches to do innovation. So there is one, it's called technology push. There is some clever guys developing new things, and they see good ideas, things they can do. And then there's the other, is a market pull. And in the security field, my impression is that there are many new startups coming, for me, myself, it was valid, coming from the technology side, and they want to push. They have good ideas, clever ideas, what to do with artificial intelligence, with machine learning, and things like that. But these technical people, very often, they're very skilled, but they don't have all these soft skills. They can learn it, but they don't have it. So my experience is if you don't have it and you don't want to get it, hire people who are able to do that, and then talk to the customer. And not only talk, the most important thing is when you go to the customers, when you go on workshops like here, on these events you organized with the meetings, listen to the customer. It doesn't make sense to present your product if you don't understand his needs. I very often joined product presentation. There was a half-an-hour product presentation. It's nonsense. Just let the customer speak, listen to him, and then you can even adapt in the meeting. You can adapt what you present. Really listen first, understand the customer, and then answer. And when you come back and he doesn't buy your product, think, why did he buy his product? What do we have to do different? What we have to change? So really, don't sell. Try to listen, and then the customer will come to you.
Well, we have finished our time. The next section, I expect they are anxious, waiting for the start the project defense. We are extremely grateful with your contribution, your effort to be here in León with us today, the effort to summarize your wonderful recommendations, and finally we can talk with them outside the panel. So thank you very much. Thank you to the attendees. And we start with the pitches.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Applause.